You're listening to the micro version of the Savage Lovecast, www.savagelovecast.com.
If you're stuck in a relationship quandary, or if you're looking for sexual harmony, well, there's nothing you can't ask on the Savage Lovecast.
There's a lot going on, so I'm going to hit a few points at the top of this week's show. First up, I am on Team Serena. Batting second, or bat-shitting second, some of my fellow queers are taking to the internet, bringing out the best in all of us since 1990. Some of my fellow queers are taking to the internet to angrily call out straight people, aka cis-het people, who use the term partner in reference to their spouses. Can we not with this? Can we just fucking not? I'm old enough to remember when straight people used to tell gays and lesbians that we couldn't use husband and wife. They also used to tell us that whatever it was we felt for each other, we were not allowed to use the word love to describe it. One of the very first books I read about sex when I was a teenager, everything you ever wanted to know about sex but were afraid to ask, said that gay men were incapable of love, and that a gay relationship was a sick codependency, a shared delusion, but not love, never love. Love only existed in opposite-sex relationships, never in same-sex relationships. It was bullshit when they tried to tell us what words we weren't allowed to use when we spoke of the most important people in our lives, and it was ineffective bullshit. We called it love over their objections. And you know what? Telling straight people what words they can't use is also bullshit. And our attempts to dictate to cis-hets to tell them what words they can and cannot use when they're talking about the most important people in their lives are no likelier to be effective than their attempts to dictate to us were. So can we please just not waste any more time than I've already wasted myself on this bullshit? And speaking of bullshit, the Democrats put up a good fight last week during Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation hearings. Kavanaugh perjured himself during those hearings. He lied to the Senate 5 times last week, and he lied to the Senate during his confirmation hearings back when he first joined the federal bench a decade and a half ago. And Democrats have the receipts. And while Kavanaugh is almost certainly going to be confirmed, when Democrats take Congress, they'll be able to impeach this lying sack of shit. Same rules as impeaching a president, majority vote in the House to impeach, 2/3 majority in the Senate to convict and remove. A high bar, yes, but not an impossible one. And while we're all worried about the fate of Roe v. Wade if Kavanaugh is confirmed, which is certain to be overturned once Kavanaugh is on the court, and Obergefell, the ruling that legalized same-sex marriage, which is almost certain to be overturned if Kavanaugh is confirmed, those hearings last week made it clear that we also need to be worried about the Griswold decision. In 1961, Estelle Griswold opened a birth control clinic in New Haven, Connecticut, and was promptly arrested for dispensing contraceptives to a married couple. She was convicted, fined $100, appealed her conviction all the way to the Supreme Court, and in 1965, 7 of 9 justices struck down Connecticut's law against selling birth control. Americans, the court ruled, had a fundamental right to privacy, and the government had no place bursting into your bedroom to pull the condom off your dick. That was essentially the ruling. The Griswold decision, which found for the first time a right to privacy in the U.S. Constitution, was crucial to later Supreme Court rulings overturning anti-sodomy laws, which paved the way for Obergefell and other important gay rights rulings. And again, it is the reason the cops can't burst into your bedroom or your bathroom and slap the birth control pills out of your mouth. And do you know what access to contraception does? It drives down the abortion rate. Increased access to contraception thanks to Obamacare is the chief reason the abortion rate in the United States right now is at its lowest level since abortion was legalized in 1973. If social conservatives really cared about preventing abortion, they would back access to contraception. But they don't really care about preventing abortion. They care about controlling women's bodies and punishing people for, as Rick Santorum famously put it, doing things in the sexual realm counter to how things are supposed to be. When Brett Kavanaugh was asked about contraception during his confirmation hearings last week, he referred to them, to birth control, as abortion-inducing drugs, which is not what contraceptives are and not what contraceptives do. They are not abortificants. But if you want to ban contraceptives, which many on the right want to do, redefining contraceptives as abortificants and then banning abortion? Yeah, that's one way to do it. Does this make you mad? It makes me mad. But let's not just get mad. Let's do something. And here's something we can do. Susan Collins, the allegedly pro-choice Republican senator from Maine, has made it clear that she intends to vote to approve Brett Kavanaugh and put his ass on the Supreme Court. Pro-choice activists in Maine hit on a brilliant strategy. They are raising money right now at crowdpac.com for a challenger to Collins. So far, 32,000 people have pledged to donate $900,000 to a challenger. If Collins votes no on Kavanaugh, you won't be charged. If she votes yes, your money will help finance a campaign to remove Collins from office and help build that Democratic majority we're going to need in the Senate to remove Brett Kavanaugh from the Supreme Court. So join me in getting out your credit card right now. Go to crowdpac.com and click on Senator Collins, Be a Hero, Reject President Trump, Supreme Court, pick or else. All right, coming up on today's show, tons of your Q's, lots of my A's on the micro edition of the Savage Lovecast and on the subscription Magnum edition of the Savage Lovecast that you can subscribe to at savagelovecast.com. Dr. Nick Cuneo joins us to talk about bad gay blood. MeUndies makes feel-good underpants your butt will be proud to wear and you will be proud to be seen in. They will be the most comfortable pair of underwear you will ever own, and to check it out yourself, go to meundies.com/savage. Thanks to Audible for supporting the Savage Lovecast. For a free audiobook with a 30-day free trial, go to audible.com/savage or text SAVAGE to 500-500.
This episode of the Lovecast is brought to you by the good folks at Squarespace. They make it easy to build a beautiful website, blog, or online store. Head on over to squarespace.com/savage for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use the offer code SAVAGE to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
Hi, Dan. Love your show. Big fan. 20-something female living in the Pacific Northwest. Basically, I am interning at a company this whole summer, and I work with this guy that for some reason I can't really figure it out, but I'm extremely attracted to him. He's really quiet, and he kind of has a hard time talking to me, and he won't really acknowledge me, and I don't know what it is about him, but I just want to fuck him so badly. And I'm a lot younger than him. He's probably in his early 30s, and I'm 20. And I'm an intern there, so that complicates things a little bit. But I just don't know where to begin with this process. I don't know how to get his attention. I don't know where to even start. I'm not very confident when it comes to stuff like that, and I'm not good at putting myself out there. But I want to get to know this guy. I want to be friends with him at the very least, but I would also definitely appreciate anything more. So any advice you have would be great.
It's possible that he isn't speaking to you or acknowledging you because he isn't interested in you. Also possible, he isn't speaking to you or acknowledging you because he is interested in you and doesn't want to be that guy at his company, doesn't want to get the reputation of being the kind of guy who preys on the summer interns who are 15 years his junior. I would advise you to look at your internship agreement, figure out when it expires, probably soon, probably the next couple of weeks. And then on your way out the door, when you're no longer an intern, when you're no longer figuratively in the employment sense under this guy in the hierarchy at this business, to approach him and say, I always wished I could have gotten to know you better while I was here. Here's my phone number. Here's my email. Let's grab a drink sometime. Now that I am no longer an intern at the company where you work and no one here has to know about it because it won't be happening here under everyone's noses. And then if you hear from him, he was interested in you, but not interested in being that guy who preys on interns or having that reputation. Good luck.
Hi, Dan. I'm a woman in my early 30s calling from the East Coast. I've been with my partner for 11 years, married 7, and I'm looking for some guidance on the use of marijuana. I do not presently have an interest in smoking and generally have no problem with adults using marijuana recreationally and am in support of its legalization. My partner is a frequent smoker and vapor, and I'm concerned about the amount used. Since I don't have any real experience, I have a hard time determining if his use is too much or if it seems that way because my personal baseline usage is none. He tends to take a hit or use his vape pen several times per day, sometimes in the morning when he wakes up, multiple times in the evening during the week, and on weekends all throughout the day. His preference for marijuana has increased over time, and he didn't smoke any in the first several years of our relationship. I don't know when recreational use becomes more of a habit, which could potentially be suggestive of some kind of addiction. To counter, my partner says that the chance of addiction to marijuana is very low. He's not missing out on work or sitting around doing nothing, but I am concerned that he seems to rely on marijuana as his primary form of stress relief. I'm a fan of a balanced life and myself drink alcohol recreationally, while also prioritizing other activities like working out, reading, friends, etc. Without seeing a balance on his end, I think I have a heightened concern about his use. Related, I'm not a huge fan of the smoke smell on a regular basis or the coughing that's sometimes associated with his smoking. In fact, I'm pretty turned off by it. I purposefully didn't date cigarette smokers years ago, as I'm not a fan of the associated smells and behaviors. My partner's behavior is now seemingly somewhat similar at times. I've brought up my concerns in the past, though he seems to perceive me as trying to control him. I admit that I'm probably not always great at bringing out my concerns, as I tend towards the anxious side. I also think he's somewhat defensive of his use. I'm not necessarily saying that I want him to eliminate all marijuana. My thinking is that if I was using anything with the same regularity, he would notice and bring it to my attention out of love and concern. What are your thoughts, Dan? You frequently discuss the benefits of marijuana. I think I need some help sorting out my comfort with the frequency of usage or identifying if my perception is unfair and figuring out a boundary about smell and behavior. Thanks, Dan.
Let's say your boyfriend is self-medicating with pot. Let's say your boyfriend was instead self-medicating, or with the doctor's prescription medicating himself with antidepressants. The side effects of antidepressants: nausea, increased appetite and weight gain, loss of sexual desire, and other sexual problems, including erectile dysfunction and decreased orgasm, fatigue and drowsiness, insomnia, dry mouth, blurred vision, constipation, dizziness, agitation, irritability, and anxiety. And yet, if your boyfriend needed to take an antidepressant once a day to function, you wouldn't argue with him about that. Well, there are lots of people out there who self-medicate with pot, who need to take a couple of hits off a vape pen a few times a day to function, and it improves the quality of their life. On the other hand, it is possible to abuse anything, including pot. Annie Lowrey has a big story up at The Atlantic this week. America's invisible pot addicts. More and more Americans are reporting near constant cannabis use as legalization forges ahead. And there are people quoted in this article who aren't medical experts, who aren't scolds, who aren't doctors, but are themselves daily users of pot, who regard their pot consumption as problematic. And yet I personally know many people who are daily users of pot who don't struggle with lethargy, who aren't losing jobs and homes, and it's not a problem. In fact, again, like a daily antidepressant, it makes it possible for them to function. Where does your boyfriend fall on this spectrum? Is it a problem? Is the pot having a negative impact on his relationship? Start there. Don't start with you'd rather not be with somebody who smokes pot. Don't start with the smell of the smoke. Start with the effect pot is having on him. It's possible it's having no bad effects on him. He could be a daily high-functioning user. And it's also possible that it has many benefits, like a daily antidepressant does for people who require antidepressants. Listen to him. Your objections to smoke, I am right there with you. I would never date a smoker. I wouldn't want to live in a house filled with pot smoke. Vape pens, edibles, tinctures. For anybody who wants the benefits of pot without all the stinky-ass smoke, you have options. Your boyfriend has options. MeUndies are the finest, funnest underpants you will ever wear. So says Nancy, who insists they have, quote-unquote, changed her life. They're also really delightful to wear, delightful to look at someone else in, delightful to grope. They use a micromodal fabric, which is a full 3 times softer than regular cotton. I can't believe how soft these things are. I am, yes, wearing a pair right now. It is the exact fabric you're going to want down there. They release multiple fun prints each month in matching socks and bralettes. You like bananas? Sure you do. And MeUndies has a pattern for that. Jellyfish? We all want images of them on our bottoms. You can even get a matching pair with your partner. They have a 100% satisfaction guarantee. You're going to love these undies, but if you're not into it, just send them back for a full refund. MeUndies just launched a brand new membership. You can level up your top drawer with new undies each month. Members gain access to exclusive prints that no one else can get. They get special membership pricing on every product MeUndies makes, and you can switch styles or skip any month you want. To get 15% off your first pair, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/savage. That's MeUndies.com/savage.
Hi, Dan. I'm 26-year-old female, cis, straight, and I'm having a problem with my boyfriend. I guess we're trying to work things out, but I'm having a huge issue sexually because we've been together for a while and there was a lot of rejection, and he was watching porn instead of sleeping with me, and he never physically cheated on me, but he was definitely entertaining other women from his past. And I just have this attitude about porn now where I just feel really upset when I think about it, and think about him watching it, because it just, it hurt so much for all that time to feel so inferior to these other women. And I don't know what to do about that, because I've never had a problem with it. It's not something I ever really enjoyed, but I've always been pretty open at the beginning of my relationship that with him and with previous boyfriends that I'm fine with porn. As long as everything else is fine, as long as it's not a problem. But now it's a problem, and I don't want to try to control him and tell him not to watch it, because I know that doesn't work. But he also has a problem when we do sleep together with finishing. He never does. He can get it up, but he can't finish, and he won't admit that he has a problem, and I don't know that he has a problem because I'm not a professional. And I just don't really know what to do. He's really defensive. It's clearly he's ashamed, and it's just, he's a hard person to talk to, and we have so many other problems that it's just difficult.
His problem, your boyfriend's problem, with finishing, and by finishing you mean coming, climaxing when you two do have sex, it's possible that has no relationship to his porn consumption or anything else. Antidepressants, as I mentioned earlier on the show, can make it harder for people to climax, harder for them to finish. I would ask if your boyfriend's on antidepressants. Could be a side effect. Also, some people have difficulty finishing. Some guys need to use their own right hand, not because they're addicted to masturbation, not because porn ruined them, but because they require, maybe they had a death grip syndrome and they're never going to get past it. They require a few strokes. They need to finish themselves off. But guys who are with partners who regard him coming as a referendum on their attractiveness or their skills in bed often are too inhibited to do that. A guy who needs to stroke himself there, the last few strokes, who pulls out and does that and gets yelled at, or there are tears and fights and recriminations, would probably prefer just not to finish rather than risk another meltdown or fight about it. So you need to set the porn to one side. If you want to have a conversation with him about climaxing, clearly when he sits in front of the computer with his own right hand, he can make himself come. Does he need to use his own right hand when you guys have sex? Not for all the pleasure and all the stimulation and all the arousal. You're providing that. But the last little bit to get him over the falls, if that's what he needs, he should do that. Just like if what you needed to get you there at the end was a vibrator incorporated into the sex, you have a right to that. And you shouldn't be shamed for needing that. And a guy shouldn't make you feel terrible about needing that. If he needs to pull out and stroke to get himself to the point of orgasmic inevitability there at the end, he shouldn't be shamed about that either. That's just the way his dick works. That said, setting aside his problems finishing, setting aside porn, maybe you need to get the fuck out of this relationship. You mention other problems that you don't go into, and just from the tone of your voice, you sound exhausted. You sound done. You sound miserable. You're 26 years old. You've had other boyfriends. You can get other boyfriends. It's not him or no one. And if it's not working, if the relationship isn't working, if it's not providing you with more joy than it is stress, then it might be time to pull the plug and find a guy where sex isn't so fraught as a result of his neglect of you for however many years this guy neglected you. And maybe with a new guy, you can tap back into sexual pleasure, sexual joy. Porn won't seem so problematic. And then you won't have this tone in your voice anymore of misery and resignation. And maybe I'm misreading that or attaching too much importance to it. People call me when they're distressed. Maybe provides you with joy most of the time. You called me at an unhappy moment. That's clear. But if all your moments with this guy are unhappy, at a certain point you have to stop working on something that isn't working. Ask yourself, take the large view, zoom out. Is this working? Does it give you joy? Do you want, you're 26 years old, 5 more decades with him? If the answer is no, stop working on this. Stop working on the porn problem, the finishing problem, all the other problems, and go. Go get a new guy with some exciting new problems. Audiobooks are great for helping you be a better you. For our audience, Audible is offering a free audiobook with a 30-day free trial. If you want to listen to it, Audible has it. Just go to audible.com/savage or text SAVAGE to 500 and browse their unmatched selection of audio content. Download a free title and start listening. It is that easy. Audiobooks go so well with summer activities like hiking, sunbathing, running, road tripping, enjoying downtime outdoors, and more. One audiobook you might want to consider is this week's guest on the Magnum edition of the show, Guy Branum's My Life as a Goddess, narrated by Guy Branum, with the foreword by Mindy Kaling, narrated by Mindy Kaling. The book is hysterical. I read it to myself. If you would rather have Guy read it to you, you can try out Audible service and order My Life as a Goddess. Audible members get a credit every month, good for any audiobook, regardless of price, and unused credits roll over to the next month. Didn't like your audiobook? You can exchange it, no questions asked, and your books are yours to keep. With Audible, you can go back and re-listen anytime, even if you cancel your membership. Get a free audiobook with a 30-day free trial at audible.com/savage or text SAVAGE to 500. That's audible.com/savage, or again, text SAVAGE to 500.
Hey, Dan. I am a 28-year-old female living on the West Coast. I have a question for you about relationships, but not romantic relationships, more friendships. I'm wondering if you could help me just kind of parse out some good ways to meet people these days. I know it sounds like a funny question. I just moved from the East Coast out west. I actually moved to your neck of the woods, which is part of the reason I'm calling. I just moved to Seattle, and I moved here with my boyfriend, though he is off working probably half the time, and I am working remotely. So the majority of the people that I've been friends with over the last 10 years or so have been people that I've met through work. Always become really good friends with them, and then maybe meet people from their networks and so on. So being out in a new city and not necessarily always having my boyfriend to go out and do things with and kind of meet people while having someone that I know nearby, I really don't have a good way or a way that I'm familiar with to meet people my own age. And I was wondering if you had suggestions, especially knowing Seattle, but in general, about just kind of good ways to meet people in, various cities, but especially in the one that you're so familiar with.
Welcome to Seattle. Seattle has many what they call co-working spaces where people basically share an office. It's a little bit more like a cafe. There's a whole bunch of them right around my office, and I sometimes meet up with people who work there to work on a project, to interview them or be interviewed by them. And I would encourage you to not be isolated, to spend the money, join one of these co-working spaces. And they won't be your colleagues, they're not your co-workers, but they will be your co-working space workers, and you will encounter the same people. You will be a part of their routine and their pattern, and then those sorts of work friendships can emerge for you, even you solo laptop warriors. So get thee to a co-working space. Go, it'll be worth the investment. Also, lots of cafes where you can work. Go to the same places at roughly the same time, and you will see a lot of the same people at roughly the same time working, and you can get to know them. You can say hi. You can start with the nod and then work up to the chit chat, maybe make a friend. Also, go make yourself useful. Volunteering is a cliche. I remember reading Ann Landers columns when I was 10 years old where people would tell her that they were lonely and they needed to make new friends in a new city, and she would tell them to go do some volunteer work. The American Lung Association or the ASPCA, the American Society of Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. And you'll meet people who care about the same shit that you care about, and you'll be thrown together, working together as volunteers on projects, which will give you a reason to chit-chat and get to know someone and figure out whether that's somebody you want to see outside of that volunteer gig. So, co-working spaces, cafes, volunteer, welcome to Seattle.
Hey, do you need to build a website for your business or for a creative or political project you have going on? Building a website does not have to be tedious or unpleasant. It can be easy, and with Squarespace, it can actually be fun. My husband had to put together a politically oriented site quickly, and guess what? He used Squarespace and found it to be super easy and adaptable. True story. Squarespace makes it a breeze to crank out a beautiful, professional-looking website or blog, or even an online store. They have templates that were created by world-class designers that you can just drop in and it looks good right away. And they have built-in e-commerce so you can sell stuff. There's nothing to patch or upgrade, and if you need help, they have 24/7 support. You can make it yourself so easily and make it stand out with Squarespace. Head on over to squarespace.com/savage for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, use the offer code SAVAGE to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com/savage and use the offer code SAVAGE.
Hi, Dan. I'm a 22-year-old gay male living on the East Coast, and I'm in this weird, fuck buddy relationship with this guy who I met in November, and when we hang out, it's cool, the sex is cool, I like who he is and we get along well. But for I don't know, beginning of this year, he doesn't respond to my text messages, not even quickly. Just whenever I send him a text message, it'll probably be maybe 3 or 4 days before I get a response. And sometimes he doesn't even respond to ones that I send on Grindr, even though he checks Grindr off frequently. And it's not like I text message him every day. I may send him a message a day after we fucked, to say hi, how are you, not get a response from that. 2 days later, I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe he didn't see it. And then I send another one, maybe the same one, or question marks. I don't think I'm demanding much. I really just want a one-word response, a yes, a no, a maybe, a sometimes, a later. And I've told him about this, and still, I am being ignored. I'm not sure I'm being ignored. I may possibly be being ignored, but I don't know because he's not letting me know. I feel like you've touched on this before on your show, but if you could impart some wisdom on a young gay boy, that would really help, especially when dealing with people who have busy schedules and forget about you, except for when they want to fuck.
He's only interested in the benefits, not the friendship. You, on the other hand, are interested in the benefits and the friendship. Now that you know that he isn't interested in being your friend and treating you the way you would like to be treated by a sex partner, even a casual sex partner, stop wasting your time on him. Stop texting him. Stop pursuing him. Stop sending him messages on Grindr or anywhere else. Particularly don't send, a couple of days after you've sent him a message, the solo question mark message, because it's not going to turn him into a different person. It's not going to make him more considerate. It's not going to make him feel about you the way you feel about him or the way you feel about this, that it should be a friendship with benefits, not just a booty call thing. And he's not suddenly going to start treating you the way you would like to be treated. Since you're getting on Grindr, you know that he is not the only other gay guy out there, roughly your age or your type, that might be interested in you or you might be interested in. The time and energy that you are wasting on this guy, you need to invest in pursuing friendships with benefits with other guys who are interested in you, not just for the sex and not just when they're horny, but interested in you as a person when your pants are on and their pants are on. Stop wasting your time on this guy. He's blowing you off. Reciprocate. Blow him off too.
Hi, Dan. So I have a bit of an odd situation. I'm a 24-year-old female living in the Midwest. So I met this guy at a bar this weekend. with my best friend, and he was with a friend of his. So it's two guys that we met, me and my best friend. Anyways, so we ended up spending the whole night with them, and from the bars, we go back to my place, we have a drink, and we realize that they don't have a way home that's super convenient, so we say, hey, just crash, spend the night. I end up spending the night in the same bed as one of the guys. He and I just made out. It's nothing crazy, whatever. My parents, though, were with us in the same vicinity. So my mom did what most parents do and asked what his last name was, and she Googled him. And today I get a text from her of a screenshot from what appears to be like a cheating website, I guess, where he posts cheaters. And it has accusations of him being an offender. So I don't really have anything to lose. So I text him, because him and I have continued to text, and said, I don't know what this is, but if it's true, if it's not, you should know about it. Good luck, whatever. So he ends up telling me that, quickly responds that it's a stalker that he's had, which to me is a very aggressive lie if you're going to lie. And he also said it so quickly. So he goes on to like tell the story about this person has been doing this to him for years, and he had to talk to his lawyer and da-da-da-da-da. And I don't know, I weirdly believe what he's saying. It was just posted on this cheating site. And if he did the offense that was the accusation made, then there'd be a police report, which there wasn't. So I don't know. He says that it's not true. Do I keep texting him? My gut tells me there's nothing wrong with him. We spent 20 hours together, which, I mean, I don't know. It's not that long, but I never got the vibe. My mom met him, never got the vibe. So let me know what you think, I guess. I don't know. This is a weird one.
You say you hung out with him for 20 hours and you didn't get the vibe that he was the cheating, sexual, offending type. And your mother hung out with him for a while and she didn't get that vibe either. And that's a point in his favor, but it's not proof that he hasn't cheated. It's not proof that he isn't a sex offender somehow. Because if people who cheated habitually, serially, people who were abusers or users or rapists gave off a super creepy, intense vibe, no one would get close enough to them to ever be cheated on or abused. A lot of abusers, a lot of cheaters, habitual serial cheaters are charismatic folks that people are attracted to. And as such, people want to give them the benefit of the doubt. You have doubts about this guy because of what you read on that website, and your doubts are legitimate, and you should weigh them against the guy that you've gotten to know even briefly. And if you want to continue to see him, you should continue to see him, because just as some abusers and habitual serial cheaters, I'm qualifying, of course, cheater with habitual and serial because sometimes people cheat with grounds, and the person they cheated on may feel like they are the victim and take to one of these websites. But if you get into their story, if you find out what was actually happening in the relationship at the time, you may find that your sympathies shift from the person who was cheated on, the white hat, to the person who cheated, the black hat, once you know the story. Sex offending? Committing a sex crime? Yeah, there should be some sort of record out there if indeed he was prosecuted. And some people commit sex offenses and sex crimes and they're never prosecuted. Police reports are never filed and they get away with it. However, all that said, there are malicious motherfuckers in the world. People lie. Women can be malicious motherfucking liars and vindictive about their exes and put shit up on the internet about someone that isn't fucking true. And the only way for you to figure out who this guy is to give him the benefit of the doubt. Now, when you give someone the benefit of the doubt, you don't set aside the doubt. You still have the doubt. Giving someone the benefit of the doubt, getting to know them a little better, doesn't erase the doubt. It doesn't resolve the doubt. Only time and experience and really getting to know that person better can resolve the doubt with some finality. But if you liked the guy, you got a good vibe. Again, not proof. He's not an asshole. A lot of assholes give off really positive, strong, good vibes. And you want to risk it despite what you found on the internet. Not everything on the internet is true, and there are malicious motherfuckers out there in the world. I think you should continue to get to know him. With your eyes open, of course, as they should be in any new relationship, looking out for those red flags. And if you start spotting red flags that undermine his credibility or would seem to confirm these things that you found on the internet, then pull the plug. Stop seeing the guy.
Hi, Dan. First time, long time. I'm calling because I was married for 18 years and together for 21, and I cheated, several times, and now we're divorced. But I found someone that I'm really in love with, and I really care about her. All I can think about is her. But there's also this fear, and this fear of cheating, which I don't want to do. I really don't. And I just want to know, how can I prevent that? In my head, I figure I don't look at anyone else and I just focus on her. I should be fine. But, maybe I'm simplifying this.
If I knew how to prevent cheating, do you know how rich I would be? Do you know how many people want that formula? Do you know how many bullshit books there are out there advising people on how to infidelity proof their relationships that don't fucking work because people just keep fucking cheating? It's almost as if it's a feature, not a bug of human sexuality and interpersonal relationships. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. You were in a relationship for 20, 21 years. You say you cheated a few times. I'd be interested to know when you cheated, why you cheated, what was going on in the relationship at the time you cheated. If you were together with somebody for 21 years and you were cheating on them, a couple of weeks into the relationship or a year into the relationship or on your wedding night, habitually, consistently, serially cheating on someone, well, then you shouldn't make monogamous commitments. You're shitty at monogamy, and you should accept that a monogamous commitment is just something that you're eventually going to violate. And, if you made a monogamous commitment and you break it, that's likely to blow up the relationship that you're in. So if you just can't keep it in your pants, you have options now. You can have an open relationship. You can have an open marriage. You can be with someone who's interested in swinging or three-ways or whatever else. You can go out there and find yourself a partner who doesn't want a monogamous commitment from you any more than they want to make a monogamous commitment to you or anyone else. That is an option. That is one actually effective way to cheat proof or infidelity proof your relationship. Because if you are in an open relationship and you honor the rules that you two establish for outside sexual contact, even if you are fucking other people, you're not cheating. It's not infidelity. But if in your previous relationship, if in that 21-year relationship, you were successfully monogamous for 15 years, monogamy flawlessly executed, and then you tripped up, you say a few times, you cheated a few times, well, in my universe, as I've said 100,000 times on this show, if you're with somebody 50, 60 years and they only cheat on you once or twice, they were pretty good at monogamy, making perfection the only standard for success when it comes to this, and this is really monogamy, is the only thing that humans attempt where perfection is the only standard for success, sets relationships and marriages up for failure because people are bad at this monogamy thing and it's hard. And so if you only cheated a handful of times in a 2-decade and change relationship, maybe you should stop beating yourself up. Maybe you were better at monogamy than you think you were, and perhaps capable in your next relationship of doing monogamy perfectly. Right now, you say you're in love with this one, you don't want to have sex with anybody else, you don't even want to look at anybody else. I bet if I can get in a time machine and go back and find you at the beginning of your relationship with your ex-wife, you probably felt and said the same things about her if you weren't a serial adulterer, if you weren't a cheating piece of shit at the start of your relationship that you're saying now with this woman at the start of this relationship. So these feelings, as intense and sincere as they may be at this moment, they're not going to immunize you against temptation or screwing up or cheating. So the conversation I think you need to have with, not me, about it, how to cheat proof your relationship, but with your new love is an honest acknowledgement that in your past relationship you cheated and you don't feel good about that, and it's not something that you want to do again, but it is something that happens in a lot of relationships. You're going to go into this new relationship with every intention never to cheat. And if she is making a monogamous commitment and wants one and is sincere and feels as strongly about you as you do about her, she's doing the same thing, going in with no intention to cheat. Cheating happens, though. And it is better to have a conversation at this stage of the relationship when there's no desire to cheat, when you're not 7, 8, 9, 10 years in and taking each other for granted, or hit some weird plateau where you're not really communicating well and you're still together but drifting apart and you haven't righted the ship. Better now to have a conversation about, if this happens, what then? If this happens, does that mean we have to divorce? If this happens, is it something that we can get past, learn from? Can we recommit? This is not an advance request for a hall pass or a get out of cheating jail free card. This is, what are we going to do? If this thing that happens in so many relationships, happened in my past relationship, it's probably happened in other relationships she's been in. If this thing that happens to us, can us survive? And if you have that conversation in advance, it's not going to assure you that if you cheat, the relationship will survive, but I think it makes it more likely that the relationship will survive. And this isn't a conversation, again, about getting an advance, get out of cheating free card. This is a conversation between two adults who are in love, who have no desire to sleep with anyone else at this moment, where they commit to each other in a more profound way, where you commit to working through this thing. This asteroid that slams into so many relationships. If it slams into ours, if you do it or I do it, we're going to remember how we feel now. We're going to remember this conversation we're having now. And we're going to commit to trying to work past it, to save the relationship, prioritize the relationship. Because life is long, the decades fly by, shit happens, people cheat on people they love. And what's more important, that we are together and we are us for the rest of our lives? Or that neither of us ever touch anyone else with our genitalia ever again for the rest of our lives. And I think the former is more important. I think us is more important. And I think that us is likelier to survive if the two people in that relationship have a conversation early about wanting the relationship to survive.
Hey, 27-year-old woman, sexually frustrated woman. So this is a scenario my boyfriend and I are going through. He will initiate foreplay. He'll stick his hand in my pants or in my underwear, start kissing me or start going down on me. And it'll last a few seconds or maybe like 3 minutes. I'll get turned on and then he pushes me away or rolls over and says, "Can we just go to sleep?" Incredibly frustrating, and it leads to fights. I'm having a hard time reacting to this without anger. It's just making me fight more about sex with him, which is making sex happen less. There's something going on here, and I just don't know what to do.
What your boyfriend is doing, it's cruel. It's such an asshole move that he cranks you up, turns you on, head fakes, pretends to be initiating sex just to shut you down like this and frustrate you and upset you. And he does this knowing that it inevitably sparks a fight, which means that, of course, sex isn't the goal when he does this to you. The fight is the goal. The fight is what he wants to have. And it sure doesn't sound, I'm sure you would have mentioned if these fights led to great makeup sex, but that's not happening. It's just crank you up, turn you on, hand in the pants, get you wet, and shut you down, and then fight, and nothing, just the fight. The fight is the goal. And so I think that's a pretty clear signal that he wants out of this relationship. Even if he hasn't articulated that, his actions are screaming that. He's doing something that is generating conflict in your relationship. He's sabotaging not just the relationship, but your sexual connection and your feeling of trust and safety with your committed romantic and sexual partner. And why would someone do that? Why would someone sabotage their relationship by engineering conflict, sabotage their sexual connection to their romantic and intimate partner if they didn't want out? Consciously or subconsciously, wanted out. I think he wants out, and he's doing that asshole thing where he forces your hand. He makes you break up with him because he does not have the courage, the decency, the ova to break up with you himself. So he's going to be an asshole until you dump him, and then he gets to play the victim when you dump him. Do him a favor. Cast him in that role that he so desperately wants to play as the victim of this breakup. Dump the motherfucker already.
Hi, Dan. I'm calling about the caller from episode 619. What you missed in the very beginning of that call is that he hit on this woman while she was at work, wanting her phone number while she's in her place of business. Of course, she's going to be more inclined to be cordial and differential. And for him to ask for her number while she's working pushes the boundaries and, again, makes women feel like there is no safe place for them to be in this world where they can't say no. I think she did a great job of deflecting that, and the caller really needs to take a close look at himself. If he's hitting on other women while they're in their places of business in customer service-related fields, he needs to be less of a creep.
Hey there, I'm just calling about episode 619, the most recent one, and the guy who was upset about his ego being damaged for being turned down publicly from a woman. There's a really easy way around this, guys. You can just give a woman your phone number and say, hey, call me. Then she doesn't have to say, no, I don't want to right then. She can just call you later if she wants to. And if she doesn't, nobody loses anything. It's a really easy, no-pressure way to say, hey, I'm interested. Take the first step. Put yourself out there. There's no public rejection. And then maybe you get a phone call later. If you don't worry about it. Super easy. Just give a woman your number and then leave her alone.
Hi, Dan. This is a response for the caller in episode 619 who lost her mom last year. My mom died 5 years ago when I was 20, and my dad has had several girlfriends since then. But before the girlfriends, he was alone in our house, had no friends or social contact, and drank a lot. It was heartbreaking to watch while my brother and I were away at college. I just wanted to reassure you, caller, that this new woman will never replace your mom. I'm sure if your dad could choose anyone in the world to be with, he'd pick your mom. My dad would, but they can't. I know it hurts right now, but watching your dad move forward hurts so much less than watching him waste away. You already lost your mom, and I'm so, so sorry. But don't willingly lose your dad too, and don't make him lose his kids. Appreciate this new connection he's found, and have this loss make you warm towards other people, not cold. You can do this. Also, fuck that guy who asked out the girl who was working in the clothing store. Fuck literally everything he said.
And we're going to leave it there. 206-302-2064 is the number here at the Savage Lovecast. If you'd like to record a question or a comment for a future show, give us a buzz. You can also record a question on your phone and email it to us at voicemail@savagelovecast.com. Hump, my dirty little film festival, is going to be playing far and wide this week. We have shows in Minneapolis, Victoria, British Columbia, and Sacramento, and there are still tickets available for all shows. Head over to humpfilmfest.com/tour to get tickets. And all films for this year's brand new 2018 Hump Film Festival are due Friday, September 14th at 3 p.m. Pacific Time. We will be poring over all your homemade porn and finding the sexiest, kinkiest, and the funniest short films for audiences to enjoy in the 14th annual Hump Film Festival. You can get tickets for all new films premiering in Seattle, Portland, and Olympia in San Francisco this November at humpfilmfest.com right now. Follow me on Twitter at FakeDanSavage. Follow Dr. Nick Cuneo on Twitter at Nick Cuneo. The Savage Lovecast is produced every week by Nancy Hartunian and me and the tech-savvy at-risk youth and Nancy. We'll all be back at you next week with another installment of the Savage Lovecast. Thanks for downloading.